Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Dynamics 365 Tech Talk. Today's topic is Native Analytics for Dynamics 365 Commerce. My name is Peggy, and I'll be your moderator today. We're broadcasting this session through Teams live events, and the audio can be heard through your device speakers. This session is being recorded on behalf of the Microsoft Corporation. When you join this event, your name, email address, and or phone number may be viewable by other session participants in the Q&A panel. By joining, you're agreeing to this experience. The recording will be available on the Tech Talks Community Dynamics page within approximately 5 business days. If you have questions for the presenters or need support, please use the Q&A panel located on the right side of your screen. Our team will be responding to your questions throughout the presentation, and there will be time at the end for further questions. Thank you for your patience during these announcements. Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have Amir Alakwaban, Senior Program Manager, and Ashish Harchwani, Senior Program Manager as well. Amir, over to you.
Thank you, Peggy. Hello, everybody. We know data is at the heart of running any business. So I'm super excited in today's session to talk about how native analytics capabilities in Dynamics 365 Commerce can empower businesses to make data-driven decisions and run their operations more effectively. As we embarked on this journey to build out native analytics capabilities, we looked at industry-wide trends and patterns. We talked to our customers, we looked at industry data, and we found some common patterns of challenges that we discovered were common across the board. What we really found out was the implementations involved in setting up analytics capabilities for businesses were typically complex, expensive. Trying to get the right answers was usually tedious if it deviated from what was originally planned. Implementations were usually custom implementations, and this resulted in all up data being fragmented across different silos, and it made it difficult to integrate data with data from external systems. And all of this happening while businesses that we looked at had limited budgets and limited in-house expertise to make the most out of the data assets that are available to them. And so with this in mind, we identified specific guiding principles to build out this new native analytics capabilities for commerce. As part of the guiding principles, we really wanted the analytics capabilities to be turnkey and comprehensive. So if you have an environment where you have Dynamics 365 commerce capabilities configured, we wanted to make sure that it didn't take an extensive amount of time and effort and resources to deploy and set up analytics capabilities. We wanted these to be really turnkey, simple, and ready to go as soon as your system is set up. And we wanted these capabilities to be comprehensive. We didn't want to just ship some sample reports and leave it up to the customers and up to custom implementations to have to set up even really basic capabilities. Second, we wanted to make sure that the analytics we deliver are truly omni-channel. And so all of the metrics and all of the dimensions that are available in the reports are all through the lens of sales and operations being omni-channel in nature. We didn't want to create artificial semantic silos between brick and mortar sales versus e-commerce sales versus call center sales. We wanted to have a unified view of this across the board for the businesses. Next, we wanted to make sure that the underlying data model is a unified data model so that there isn't an enormous effort required by data engineers and data analysts to put together a cohesive view of the system across the board. So for instance, if we have a product entity that's being used in different contexts, we want that product entity to be cohesively defined in the data model, regardless of the context in which it's utilized. Next, we wanted to make sure, despite shipping a comprehensive set of metrics and dimensions out of the box, we wanted to make sure that the capabilities are built on a platform that allow for ease of integration with other data sources and ease of extensibility, because we understand that all businesses are unique and have unique business needs. So despite shipping a wealth of metrics out of the box, we also wanted to make sure the extensibility experience is as seamless and as easy as possible. And finally, what we really wanted to do with this analytics capabilities is we wanted to unlock the power of the data that's available in Dynamics. So unlocking it both for Microsoft to deliver advanced capabilities for our customers. So in terms of laying the foundation for the next generation of intelligent capabilities, but also laying the foundation for our customers as well as for our implementation partners, ISVs, and the ecosystem to be able to tap into the power of the data that is available for more advanced scenarios. Let's take a quick look at the system architecture of this native capability that we're delivering as part of Dynamics 365 Commerce. In any system, there are sources of data, and in Dynamics 365 for Commerce, the typical sources of data are, as an example, you have a store associate in a store, checking out customers, ringing up transactions at a point of sale. This is existing capability where this transactional data is processed by Commerce Scale Unit. These transactions make their way to Commerce back office. For a call center associate who's taking orders, let's say over the phone, they're also creating transactional data, which is lining up in Commerce HQ. Then we have our e-commerce channel where you might have a shopper who's browsing a customer's e-commerce website, and they are making transactions on this channel. As we know today, the transactional data is processed and handled by Commerce Scale Unit, much like it is for the point of sale channel, and this data makes its way to Commerce HQ. In addition to transactional data for your e-commerce channel, there is also a stream of observational data that is generated by e-commerce shoppers. This observational data in terms of web events are captured and then ingested, pre-processed, and they make their way over to a data lake. The transactional data, which was in the Commerce HQ, is also funneled over and sent over to a data lake. So this is aligned with Microsoft's broader strategy of aggregating organizational data within a data lake. So within this data lake, we have a notion of raw data that is coming in terms of the transactional data, as well as the behavioral data from the web events. Next, we have this concept of a schema, which defines essentially the semantics of the data that is hosted within the data lake. And then what happens is the native analytics capability is able to read the raw data, transform, aggregate, process it, and then write it back into the data lake in terms of entities and ontologies. Now that the processed data is written back into the data lake, then we look at the consumption experience. In terms of the consumption experience, we're primarily relying on Power BI as being the analytics canvas, and then Power BI itself is available to your business users, either directly in Power BI or within contextual canvases of the application itself in terms of the point of sale or Commerce HQ. And then Power BI itself is reading the data from the data lake through an Azure Synapse SQL on-demand federated layer. Now, another thing I do want to call out is that this architecture, although it is optimized for analytics, but it does allow the ability for systems or data engineers or data analysts to interact directly with the data through the SQL on-demand data layer, so that if you wanted to run ad hoc SQL queries for ad hoc analysis, you would be able to do that. And you'd also be able to build integrations so that other clients can actually consume the same Azure Synapse SQL layer. So although Power BI is the primary canvas, it is not limited or constrained to that primary canvas. In fact, if you wanted, as a data engineer or a data analyst, you could even directly access the data in the data lake and run your own processing on top of this data. Now let's look at what is actually available within this native capability. I had mentioned earlier, one of our key guiding principles was we wanted to make sure we're shipping a comprehensive set of analytics capabilities out of the box. We didn't want to limit ourselves to shipping just a few sample reports, so to speak. So as a result, we're actually shipping over 24 interactive, rich Power BI reports with hundreds of visual controls, dozens of views and tables, and over 1,000 fields and metrics. This capability is all already available in 5 geographies worldwide and expanding as we speak. In addition to all of this, I do want to also call out that the Power BI assets that are available in this capability are shipped as an extensible Power BI template app. So this is something we heard from customers that they really wanted to be able to have access to the underlying source of the Power BI assets that we're shipping so that they can extend or they can customize the report. So we are shipping this capability along with the raw source of the Power BI template app itself. And all of this is built on a highly scalable platform, which allows for petabyte scale of storage with Azure Data Lake. And we're also delivering this in a way that makes it easy to extend and integrate with other data sources. And the example I had called out in the system architecture diagram was about the ability to build custom T-SQL queries using the Azure Synapse interface. Now, in terms of the kinds of metrics that are available in the native analytics capabilities for Dynamics Commerce, it includes core sales, returns, discounts, and payments capabilities, which are omni-channel in nature. So I had mentioned earlier how all of the metrics we're looking at, we've looked at it through a lens of omni-channel capability. So when we talk about sales and returns and discounts and payments, these are applicable both for the brick and mortar channel as well as the e-commerce channel and the call center channel as well. So it's omni-channel in nature. And then there's a set of metrics that are specific to certain channels. In particular, the e-commerce web activity observational data, it's unique to that channel and it is natively available. So there isn't a need for any custom implementation or integration for this capability to light up. It is natively available. So your web activity metrics around customer acquisition, impressions, sessions, and visitor analysis are all included within the native capability set itself. Talking about the metrics that are available, it's also worth calling out that we ship a rich set of dimensions that allow for rich filtering and slicing and dicing of data. So some of the obvious ones like product and category, but also your channel, store, terminal, and we allow granularity for hourly sales. And we also allow you to look at your data and your sales by employee, especially as it relates to the point of sale and the brick and mortar channel. And aside from that, for e-commerce, there are certain specific dimensions that are relevant. So the session origin for web activity on e-commerce. Aside from that, we also provide you customer RFML analysis. We'll have a demo on that shortly, so stay tuned. We'll get to that soon and you'll kind of see the capability that we're lighting up there. I'll now hand it over to Ashish, who will walk us through a demo and help answer some common questions that businesses will typically have about running their business. Over to you, Ashish.
Thank you, Amir. So folks, we gonna go through all the set of the reports that we have provided as out of box, so that these are the turnkey set of the reports which may be available. With that being said, before we get started, I would like to familiarize with this layout for ourselves. You could see that this is pre-canned set of the reports. Again, all of these reports are customizable and morphable to your business need. All these color choices you can change, even the entire layouts you can change, and even the visuals you can change to your desire as you may need. To further familiarize, we have this set of filter controls over here, which is gonna allow you to kind of apply these filters across all of the reports in this set of the pre-canned set of the reports for ourselves, right? And as suggested that we are very much tightly coupled with the whole Dynamic 365 data structures. So if you were to kind of look at the hierarchies, like we do allow you not just a single commerce product hierarchy, but we also allow you to kind of view your or do your analysis by individual navigation hierarchy. Likewise, even in the organization hierarchy, you shall have as an ability kind of whichever you want for yourself, whatever you have identified as default uh, reporting hierarchy by retail reporting purposes. For the organization hierarchy purposes, those are the ones which will be visible here, and then that would allow you to kind of select your individual channels and navigate through them. To get started, what we're gonna do is, as Amir suggested, is like we're gonna take a few set of the questions, start with the basics, and probably try to see more advanced how you can kind of leverage is the Power BI's native capability of cross filtering and such, right? So let's start with the very basic one, which is like, how would you determine what is the gross margin for cameras in the year 2021? And if you notice at the bottom, like it does give you the hint about you are looking at the data from for the year 2021. And in this case, we want to start basic, which is like we want to identify what's the gross margin for cameras as a product category. So we'll expand this category tree, and then if you select on this, and you would notice that across the board, not only you can determine what was the margin for the cameras, you can also determine what were the returns like, what was the total discounts applied for the sales of the camera as such. Now, to take it further, while you have the gross margin, maybe the next answer you may want for yourself is like, which are the top selling stores in United States for the cameras as a category? So we'll try to navigate to the different tabs for ourselves. Over here, we can see there are the different countries where your business has been doing sales. And as you hover over it, you can view individual, what you can say, stores or the locations where the within the US what it is doing. But if you were to look for the map view, you can select USA, and then at the bottom you can see the map. But still, it clearly doesn't give me the entire indicator of like which is the uh, stores which are selling the most over here, right? So now if we were to go back to the chart view and we were to continue drill through, right? So I'll select USA first. And then I'm gonna activate the drill through mode over here and go one level below in the sky. And then given I know the cameras category was under the electronics, right? I'm gonna go and select the cameras as well. And if I were to select the USA, and you can see the Ann Arbor was the store which was selling the most cameras for the year 2021. And to further continue with our investigation, or not the investigation, but the analysis over here, if we were to also try to identify who was the cashier was selling the most, you can see in the Ann Arbor, if I select Ann Arbor, oops, I am in the drill through mode, so I'm gonna go back here and stop the drill through to be able to select the Ann Arbor. And you can see the cashier named Josh Edward is the one who sold the most of the cameras in during the year 2021. And if we were to see which was the month they probably sold the most, it's clearly in the March of the 2021 is where this kind of a sold the most of the cameras for specific store in the Ann Arbor. What we are trying to highlight is like over here is you could see that from multiple visuals, we kind of took as a one of the slicing element of it, and we were able to kind of be able to answer various kind of a question which may be very important for your business from day to day. Now, if we were to continue, right, I mean, just take a overview of the other set of the reports, and then we'll try to see if we can find which was the most used discounts in the what you can say Atlanta store maybe, right? So clearly, I mean, we can jump through other reports, and then probably for the discount, we would like to see what are the discounts which were used specifically for a Atlanta store the most in the year 2021. Clearly in this view, while there is a stores and such thing, but we still don't have a decomposition of which specific discounts are probably getting used, right? And you would notice there is a button at the top right, which would allow you to kind of have that analysis and the decomposition of which discounts are getting used the most. So we're gonna start going down the path and we'll select the discounts. And within the USA, I want to select the Atlanta. And with the Atlanta, I want to see which was the most used discount. And clearly, I'll first try in the periodic discount, and I can see the Fabricam clearance. Atlanta is a Fabricam store for the demo data, as most of you may know. And then following that is the where loyalty discount was extended for any purchases over the $100. So if I were to see which were the specific products also bought for those highest use discount, we can also figure out those were the specific discount which were extended for the or used for these product purchases. So now the next question, which generally people would like to know about, is like, which are the most widely used payment methods within the stores, right? So natural fit from the payment method would draw the attention to the payment analysis. And you could see over here, while we can see payments by method and such thing, but if I were to have the year-over-year comparison of the various widely used payment methods. So if I were to select New York for a matter of that, I can see that these are the different payment methods which are used, and obviously the card is the most popular among them. But what about the rest of them? How has been the year-over-year growth of those, right? So we would change over here, and you would see these subtle gestures or the what you can say switch available for you to kind of change by method, and you would see that the all of a sudden this whole analysis has the different way of kind of data representation for you. So to continue with our quest of like finding among the New York which sales, sorry, the payment methods or year over year, how have been their adoption, we could see that there's been an uptick in the loyalty cards, which is 58% compared to the 2020. In the 2021, we see this there has been a 58% more transaction where folks have been redeeming their loyalty points to kind of complete their purchases. But simultaneously, we can see the decline in the gift cards, which is around 15%. Now, the next feature which I'm going to showcase in our pre-can set of the reports which are available is actually on the very high demand from our customers, which is like we want to have an ability to compare the sales between two different periods of calendar, you could say, for yourself. Like sometimes they want to do the comparison between what was the sales like during the Black Friday sale or the Thanksgiving sale period to the Christmas sales period, just holiday season, right? Both of them do come in the holiday season, but within the holiday season also there is like for the Thanksgiving versus the holiday, which is the Christmas holidays essentially, right? So for that, we'll just kind of go about updating it to 11/22, assuming your Thanksgiving period was from 11/22 to what you can say end of the November, right? Typically that's in the US. That's the dates for it. And once you have selected that, on the other side, you kind of gonna go and update it to say 12/24/2020. Link to that would be 12/31/2020, right? So if I were to select, and given we have been focusing on the cameras as a category, so we'll like to keep it to the cameras and try to see how was the sales in the Thanksgiving 2020 compared to the Christmas holidays in 2020. We see that there was the uptick between the two, which is in the during the Christmas holidays, there was a 23% more sales, which were achieved for the cameras as such, and you can do it across your businesses for various categories for various different periods, and there is no as such limit on what can be the period. You can have different, you don't need to have a 7-day period on the both side. As you can see over here also, it is different number of the days between the two sides, and you can essentially achieve that comparison for yourself. Now, to take it further, one of the key points that we highlighted in our introduction to the commerce analytics was about we are kind of unifying the observational data with the sales transactional data of your business, right? So observational data is about the web activity of the users on the e-commerce website. So whenever the users are visiting, how they are interacting with your various pages and which pages or the modules are resulting into the conversions, and we would like to show you how you could achieve that and how we have provided that unification between the two. So for that, let's just take the example is like, what has been the click-through rate for women's shoes for the search module specifically, meaning all the shoppers journey that may have started from the search module and how much of it kind of resulted into the click-through rate. So we'll try to go to the impression tab for it, right? Over here, you can sort of compare performance or the how much of the individual modules are resulting into the click-through rate for you. And we're gonna select, as we discussed about the search module, right? And within the fashion, we want to see women's shoes. So within the women's wear, you could see the women's shoes over there, right? And if I were to select the search, and that has been the click-through rate. So just to explain the difference between the impression versus the click-through for the everybody's awareness, is like when you are searching for an intended search term, that I'm looking for the party shoes kind of a thing, right? It results into the search results on the product listing page. That's just a product impression which were uh, produced in front of customer for their intended search term. These are the possible matches which you may be interested in, but there are the only few set of those products which kind of get clicked and further reviewed by the customer with their intent of purchases. Now, to explain, I mean, that is what we call as a click-through rate, but you could see there is also the funnel chart where you can see where people started from home all the way to the product, and that's a funnel you can kind of experience of go through for your individual businesses. Now, to further show this power of the unification of the web activity with the your transactional as well as your business data of like a customer since the time the customer has been doing the business with you. One of the common thing businesses want to determine for them is like, is their business able to retain their long-standing customers, or have their long-standing customers been doing business with them in the recent times, right? So we'll kind of go to the visitor over here, and you could see that you have the visitor numbers by relationship length, which is like folks who have been member with you for a brief period of time, right? Have they been kind of visiting your website or not? And we kind of be able to give you an ability which does allow you to have that traceability for you. So in this case, we are trying to see the customers who have been more than like 3 months to 6 months, greater than anything greater than 3 months. Are they still interacting with our business, sort of a thing? Right. And if we were to go and look into the recency, which is like in the past, let's just say up to the month or to the up to the last 3 months, have they been visiting our website, kind of a thing. So as we see for the folks who have been with us or the members with us since greater than 6 months, we do notice that across the globe for the business, whereas the North Americas is a kind of a area where the customer stickiness is not that great, relatively at least, right? So maybe you are just expanding your business in North America, maybe that's a clear indicator of it, but otherwise you can kind of take this as a cue that your long-standing customers from the North Americas are sort of not having the repeated visits on your website to do the business. So maybe you can have the targeted promotions for those long-standing customers to kind of visit your e-commerce website and be able to kind of bring the business back to you. So that's the idea about like that was the total scenarios that we wanted to just showcase to you about the pre-can set of the reports and show you the power of like unification of the web activity data with the FNO or the sales and transaction data. And with that, I'll hand it over back to Amir to help further the presentation. Over to you, Amir.
Thank you so much, Ashish. That was a fantastic demo. We'll now kind of do a quick recap of the really interesting features and capabilities in the Power BI template app that Ashish went over. So in particular, we'll look at some key highlights. The first one I want to talk about that Ashish did a demo on is the comparison analysis. And this one truly stands out specifically for the retail and commerce domains. And we focused on this based on customer feedback, where you can define 2 configurable time periods and not have to manually do calculations and taking metrics for one time period and then doing a comparison with those metrics from another time period. This just improves the usability and user experience for getting the answers that you want right away. The next thing I want to talk about that Ashish also touched upon is the kind of integration we built between the web activity and the native features of the system itself. So in this case, when we look at the native web analytics capabilities, the analytics system itself understands what a module on your e-commerce website is. It understands what a homepage looks like. It understands what a search results module looks like. And so for a business, if you have your e-commerce channel manager or a merchandising manager who wants to understand how effective the search results are or how effective the recommendations that you're showing on your website are, you can get that answer right away without having to build any custom analytics or any custom reports. You come to this page, you select the module that you want, and you can instantly see the number of impressions for the products that are showing in that module. You can look at the click-through rate and the conversion rate and really understand the impact and effectiveness of each of the modules, and then go back to our site builder experience to make any tweaks if you wanted to make any changes there. So it's all natively integrated across the stack, so nothing custom needed for this capability to light up. Another example that Ashish just demoed is where we're able to take web activity signals, which is coming from your e-commerce website, and then we're able to marry that with transactional data that we have about your customers. What that essentially means is if you have existing transactional relationships with your customers over a period of time, and that customer eventually then comes to your e-commerce website, even the first time that a customer lands on your e-commerce website, we are able to stitch together their e-commerce web activity with the long-standing existing transactional data that we have with your customer across other channels. So that's really the power of a unified data model and an omni-channel view, and breaking the silos between observational data and transactional data, and looking at things in a very omni-channel fashion. So I think this example illustrates that really well. The next thing I want to talk about is the variability that we see amongst our customer base. So lots of businesses that we work with, we realize they have different types of customers. They have B2C customers, they might have B2B customers, or they might have both. So what we allow you to do is we allow you to look at customers based on different types of customers, and then allow you to drill down into those customers. So you might look at wholesale customers or B2B customers or your retail customers and look at the relative contribution of those towards your total sales. Next, I want to talk about is category hierarchies. So what we found out and what we realized looking at our customers' business operations is that most of our customers use multiple different types of category hierarchies for different purposes. So you might have a different category hierarchy for your inventory management. You might have a different category hierarchy for your online channel navigation for your customers on your e-commerce website. And you might have a completely different category hierarchy for reporting and analytics. And what we allow you to do, obviously, in the dynamic system is we allow you to define and configure different types of category hierarchies for different purposes. And so we're funneling that same power into the analytics reports itself. So that if you have, let's say, an e-commerce merchandising manager, maybe they want to view the report and slice and dice the data using the channel navigation hierarchy. And if you have a different business persona who's involved in back office operations, they might want to look at the same data, but slice it by a retail product category hierarchy, which could be a different way of looking at things. So same data, but pivoting it and slicing and dicing it differently, contextual to how different users in the organization want to interact and interface with the data. So very powerful capability here. Aside from this, we wanted to make sure that the richness of the business processes that are supported in Dynamics are accurately and properly available for analytics within these analytics reports. So we understand many of our customers have multiple different legal entities, so you're able to filter the data by legal entity, by different channel types. So you can specify if you're an e-commerce channel manager and you're only interested in e-commerce channels, you can slice and dice data by these filters. And then also by sales type, we allow you to slice and dice by the type of order involved. So whether it's a cash and carry customer order or an order from your e-commerce channel. Next, I do also want to talk about the types of rich controls we've built in. So we put in deliberate time and effort and thought into making sure that we surface the full power of the data that is available to you within these analytics experiences. For category hierarchy, we implemented this matrix visual, which gives you a drill down experience into your product category hierarchy. When it comes to specific charts, which show you the relative magnitude of a particular metric, we also allow you to drill down the charts themselves. And then we have a hierarchical filter for category hierarchy that can apply a filter across all of the pages of this template app. So if you're a category manager just for children's apparel, you can go into the filter that Ashish showed in the demo and apply that filter for a particular node in the category hierarchy, which will apply to all of the pages in the report so that the report is personalized for your specific needs. Aside from this, we also invested in some very rich visuals. One of my favorites is really the decomposition tree, and for lack of time, we weren't able to go into all of the details of the decomposition tree. But the power that it brings to the table is that it allows for configurable drill downs. So as an example, if you wanted to drill down by store and then payment method, you could do that. Or if you wanted to do the reverse, maybe you wanted to drill down by payment method first and then by store. You as an end user of the Power BI report can configure and personalize how you want to drill down into data based on your particular need at the point you're trying to answer the question. Aside from this, one of our key guiding principles for this report was how do we not overwhelm the users while still providing the richness of the data that is available in the system. So we looked at the idea of progressive disclosure so that as you're interfacing and interacting with the data, as you have more questions, you can contextually drill through and drill down into the data as and when you need it, so that your primary experience is uncluttered and not overwhelming you as a business user, while at the same time allowing the power and the richness of the data to surface as and when you need it. And this can be seen through the drill throughs that you can click through contextually, as well as some advanced tooltips that show up when you mouse over certain data elements. Now, what does it take to actually get access to this native analytics capability? We are currently in public preview, and what that means is this capability is available for self-service deployment during this preview milestone. What we do require is that you have at least one active sales type in your Dynamics 365 commerce environment, which means you're at least processing a transaction on either a point of sale system or on e-commerce or on a call center channel. We need at least one active channel for us to be able to give you any meaningful data here. Next, this requires you to have a tier 2 environment, so either a sandbox UAT environment or a prod environment. As a prerequisite, you will require export to data lake to be enabled, the add-on for export to data lake in your LCS environment. And you will need an Azure Synapse SQL workspace, and you will need Power BI. So in terms of Power BI, I know people have asked this question. So you need at least one Power BI Pro or one Power BI Premium license per organization to be able to publish this template app to other users and to be able to share this. Users in your organization who are viewing these reports do not need a premium or pro license. They can use a basic license to be able to view and interact with the data. But if you want to make edits, changes, or publish or share, you will need a pro or a premium license for that. Aside from that, there is during the public preview time period, no additional Dynamics license required for Commerce Analytics. It ships as an add-on to your Dynamics 365 environment, so nothing additional required for using this capability. Now, I mentioned this earlier that this is available for self-service deployment, and this is available for self-service deployment in Sandbox UAT specifically. For production deployment, you can go live, but this is at this point on a case-by-case basis and does require a direct engagement with the product team. Outside of the preview, we also have a live demo available, which does not require any specific sign up, and there are virtually no requirements in terms of even having a Dynamics environment available for a live demo. There's nothing to sign up, and you can just use the live demo. So the difference between a live demo and the self-service deployment is that the live demo is available for use with pre-canned demo data. And if you wanted to use it with your own data, then you would have to deploy it in your own Dynamics environment. Aside from that, this is in public preview. And as part of the preview program, there are some limitations that you need to be aware of, specifically in terms of limited support for accessibility, localization, uptime of the service, regional availability. This is going to be limited in the preview period, and this will be more enhanced as we get into the GA milestone. Aside from this, customer support is going to be ad hoc during this preview period, and it will be on a best effort basis and directly with the product team and on Yammer. We also don't guarantee backwards compatibility during the preview period, in that during the preview period, we might make breaking changes to the schema and the data model. And therefore, we do not want you to take hard dependency and build extensive customizations, assuming the data model will not change. We will limit and minimize unnecessary changes, but we do want you to be aware that there might be some changes to the data model. So what does it take to actually get access to analytics for Dynamics Commerce? To access the live demo, you can try this out right now. You can go to aka.ms/commerce analytics demo. There's no sign up required, no installation required. Literally, you go to this URL and you can start using the Power BI template app that Ashish showed in the demo as well. You can interact with it and use it and get a feel for what capabilities are available. For getting access to this feature and using it with your own data in your own environment, you do need to submit this sign up form for the preview. So this is AKMS Commerce Analytics Preview sign up. You fill out the form, and typically within a few days, we process your request, and then you can continue with the installation of this feature. Speaking of installation, all the detailed installation steps are available on our docs site. So go to AKMS Commerce Analytics docs. And please give us feedback about the feature capabilities, what you like, what you dislike, what new enhancements you'd like to see. We have a specific place on the ideas portal. You can go to AKMS Commerce Analytics Ideas. And then for preview engagement and feedback, please feel free to use Yammer to reach out to us, or you can email directly at the email listed here. But I do want to preface it by saying that during the preview period, support will be on a best effort basis, and we don't guarantee an SLA for getting your support request completed or for the service uptime. With that said, I do also want to give people a sneak peek at what's coming next and what's the next set of capabilities that we're going to deliver. First, we're going to soon enhance the set of capabilities with inventory analytics. So this has been something that's very useful to our customers to understand their inventory levels and the cost of their inventory and how effectively they're able to operate as a business. So we're shipping this capability as part of the metrics for the template app. It's all going to be available out of the box natively. Next, we're going to also ship supply purchase analytics. So essentially telling you how much you're spending on purchasing inventory from which vendors and how effectively those vendors are fulfilling your orders. Aside from these two, we're also working on some other enhancements. So some of the things I mentioned as part of the limitations of the preview program, we're obviously working on improving the accessibility, localization, and the visual design of the template app. And aside from this, we're working on improving the installation experience in your environments, that it's easier and simpler and faster for you to get this capability lit up. We're also working on improving serviceability so that you have a seamless set of updates available as we enhance this feature set. And this has been a question that's also been asked in our Q&A about incremental data export from HQ to the data lake. We're also working on this, as well as incremental cooking and processing, so that we're really able to optimize the freshness of the data so that you can get data in the most efficient manner with the lowest latency in terms of data freshness. And another thing we're also announcing is we're working on point of sale embedded reports. So these reports that you see will also be available within point of sale for your cashiers as well as store managers with the right access controls in place. These capabilities are all things that we're working towards for our GA milestone, which is tentatively slated for October of this year. And all these futures enhancements, these are subject to change. These are things which are in plan, in development, but we make no guarantees or promises of these landing in GA. So another quick recap of the resources that are available. And with that, we'll switch to Q&A and take any other questions that may have not been answered yet. So Ashish, if there are any other questions not yet answered, please feel free to read them.
So for the one question is, how is web analytics different from Clarity? I don't know if you already covered it, but
no, I can answer. Great question. So the idea of web analytics that we're shipping as part of this native analytics feature set is it's really focused on stitching together observational data with transactional business data that is available in the system. So some of the examples that you looked at that Ashish also demoed were things such as what does the click-through rate or conversion rate on e-commerce look like for customers who have a lifetime value of more than $10,000 or customers who have a relationship length more than 180 days. So it's really taking basic web analytics and supercharging them by stitching that information with transactional and other kinds of data that's available in the dynamic system to kind of give you this 360 view of your customers. Now, Clarity itself is also a very rich capability that we've integrated well with for giving you a deep, rich understanding of the behavior of your shoppers on your e-commerce website. Now, the key value that we see with Clarity is that it goes into detail about the minutia of how users are interacting on your website. What are the hotspots? What are the places where you can make optimizations to the user experience? So I think both Clarity as well as the native web analytics, these are quite complementary, and these have different specific areas of focus. So that's kind of the answer there. Any other questions, Ashish?
There was one more question about, is there a limitation to number of nodes in a hierarchy that can be loaded in analytics package? I can take that.
Yeah,
if that's okay. So folks, our recommendation is to kind of a limit that to 8 to 10 levels. It's primarily for the performance reasons, but otherwise we don't have any such hard limit. But our recommendation has always been to kind of keep it to the 8 to 10 levels, because beyond that, even from the business analytics point of view, it may become a bit of a daunting and challenging, essentially. So that's, Amir, if you would like to add anything.
No, that's perfect. I think you answered it well.
Awesome. There's another question which came in. Is the connected spaces stream part of the preview?
A great question. Maybe I can take that.
Mm-hmm.
So Connected Spaces is not part of the public preview milestone at this time, but please stay tuned for future announcements in the space.
All right, so I believe that was the last one. Folks, if you have, please drop a note. If not, then would like to hand it over to Peggy for the wrap up.
All right, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation today. So if all the attendees could have a look in the live event Q&A, I have posted a link to a short survey. We'd love your feedback on today's session and hear what you'd like to see in future events. So thank you so much for your participation there. As a reminder, the recording of today's session will be available on the Tech Talks Community Dynamics page within 5 business days. All registrants will receive an email when that recording becomes available. So a big thank you to our attendees and our presenters. Have a great day or evening wherever you are and stay safe.